Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Audio check. Cool. Good morning. Looks like audio is working on YouTube. You guys see me, hear me on Instagram? Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Gonna dive into some analysis here and stay on for the trading session this morning. I'm gonna be doing this all week this week, as promised. Does anybody have any questions, anything trader relating before I start getting into the analysis this morning? While I give people a few minutes to join in, take any questions that you guys have. Good morning. You're welcome, and thanks for joining in, everybody. I've got a lot of positive feedback that it's helped a lot of people, so decided to do it every day this week. Probably will not be a regular thing forever, but for this week, do it every week, or do it every day, and then probably go back to doing it once a week or so. But this week, we'll do it every day. Does anybody have any trading related questions before I start jumping into it for the morning? You're welcome. Thanks for joining in. All right, so I don't see any questions. We're starting to get people in, giving it 3 minutes. I'm going to start jumping into the analysis for the day, and then we'll stick into the trading session. We have a bit of time here, so I'll circle back for questions after kind of going through the analysis. NQ is taking out yesterday's low, but ES seems stuck. Yeah, we'll go over it. I don't look at NQ a ton, to be honest with you. I primarily just focus on ES, but it looks like ES is a little bit relatively stronger right now. All right, so I'm gonna start jumping into it here. First of all, just going in, just an overview of doing these streams. I'm not doing this for the purpose of people copying my trades. There's always going to be a delay just between me sharing my position and executing and the actual technical bit on the stream. So I never recommend people trying to copy. The purpose of this is just to share my analysis and let you guys kind of walk with me during trading days and kind of see how I do things and kind of help you maybe with your own analysis and how you do things. So if you see a trade that's your own setup and it's not something I'm looking at, by all means, follow your own system. Don't try to copy me. I may or may not, I still have losing days. I still have losing weeks. There's no telling, that the short-term outcome is random. I know my system is good and I will make money long term, but over the short term of days and even the week, I could have a red week. So don't just be here to try to copy my trades. Highly encourage people just to be here to learn, and we'll learn together too, because I appreciate people commenting and seeing the levels and things that they're watching. So please do that. But without any further ado, we'll just get into it here. So my general process every day is to come in with almost completely blank charts, and I just go through some basic technical analysis from the higher time frames down to the lower time frames every single day, just to get a feel for where the market's at and what it's doing. I don't want to come in every day with old levels, with previous day biases. Yes, I will keep levels up that I have had from previous days if they're still valid and they're still key. But I like to kind of come in with fresh eyes every single day, do fresh analysis every single day. And that just helps me kind of see things as clearly as I can without any bias and just get a feel for where the market is at, where it's potentially could go, without getting too kind of locked into just one thing that I want to see happen in the market, if that makes sense. So starting out on the weekly time frame, you can see my time frames up here. I'll shift through those, and then also my drawing sets. This is my blank drawing set that I start going through analysis, and then you'll see me switch to my other chart set, which is or drawing set, which is kind of the levels that I keep up that are still valid. And as they get invalidated, I'll clear them off this. But starting out with my analysis, I like to go through blank charts. And sometimes what I'll do, I have 6 monitors. So I have another monitor that's up here that I'm not sharing. And sometimes I will have my drawing set up on the one monitor and blank charts on the other. And I'll kind of start my analysis on the blank charts, and then I'll kind of transpose what's actually relevant onto my levels that I use for intraday trading on that drawing set. But looking at the relatively blank charts here, I really only have this just to kind of illustrate where the market has been at the last couple weeks. And for those of you on Instagram, sorry, I forgot to mention, I'm sharing my screen on YouTube. So the link is in my bio. I also posted in the story the link directly to this live stream. So if you want to see my screens and everything, I'll try to call out the levels audibly so you guys can hear on Instagram. But if you actually want to see my screens and stuff for the live stream, highly recommend just jumping over and joining on YouTube. So you can see we had this all-time high area where we had rallied pretty much all year last year, and then we kind of flattened out up here towards the beginning of the year, and then we had this large sell-off after this consolidation and drop. We've now been kind of grinding our way back up here. I wouldn't say grinding. We've had one of the fastest recovery bounces in history, but we're kind of sandwiched in this area. We've had all this demand, buying, and then we're kind of sandwiched under this prior consolidation area, which I would now look to see act as resistance. That doesn't mean I'm going to short it. It's just to keep in mind where the market is at. And just looking at the weekly time frame, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. We're entering the 5th week in this channel here between these two trend lines that I've drawn. That's just kind of narrowing down. Last week was a pretty strong closed week. That's the first time since like 5 weeks ago that we actually closed near the high of this channel. You can see every other time we got to the top of this channel, dropped back in, got to the top of the channel, dropped back in, at least to the middle. So this was the first time we actually closed near the high of the channel. That's just important to note that each time sellers have dropped this, we've clearly made higher lows, higher lows, higher lows as we're working our way up in this channel. So that's just an important higher time frame context to note what's going on the weekly time frame. So if you were looking at this on like a 1 minute, to me, this would look pretty bullish. Just looking at it, we've been consolidating, and then we closed near the highs. Like if I wasn't knowing this was a weekly chart and just looking at this as like a 1 minute chart, I would say that looks pretty bullish, because every time sellers have attempted to drop this thing down, we really haven't been able to sustain for the last 3 weeks lower than like the middle of the range. And now we're closing at and consolidating right at the high. To me, that feels bullish and ready for a breakout. I'm not just going to blindly get in it for a breakout. I'm going to look for confirmations. And if we drop back, below the middle of the range, then I'm going to invalidate that. But right now, as it stands, unless something changes, that looks pretty bullish. So dropping down here into the daily time frame now. This is kind of the same picture, and you can see it a little bit more clearly here. We've kind of been working our way into this channel up and down. But that being said, sellers have tried to put a lid on the top each time. We've just barely peaked over the top, but clearly we've made much higher lows on each pullback. Here, here, here. So especially, this was like the last like decent sized pullback. When was that? From the middle of May. And since then, pullbacks have been quite limited. This is a bit messy here. But yeah, I mean, every single pullback has held a higher low and then just barely made a higher high. So for this week, if we are going to break out of here, need to see aggressive buyers actually sustain movement above the high. Because so far, it's just been a quick peak above the high and drop back in, quick peak above the high, drop back in. So you don't want to be longing the highs for a breakout, in my opinion. That's generally a bad move on the indices, just because there's such a mean reverse price. It tends to drop back towards the average price. So within this, if we can find any pullbacks and find ways using order flow and lower time frame analysis to get in before a breakout occurs, that would be kind of my ideal setup for the start of this week. I'm not sure what else to add here. Just looking at this, though, I'll pull up my levels and you can see why. I saw this key level that order flow activity has been interesting around, right around 59.70 to 74 range for a few days now, up and down, above and below. But we closed pretty firmly above that on Friday. And so you can just see here, just from the prior day into that, how that was kind of a pivotal area. And I marked that this level before these daily candles even closed. But you can see now, sellers tried to push this day down, closed lower, and we immediately reclaimed back above the open of this candle. And just a key pivotal point that you can clearly see without even knowing, the order flow activity that was occurring around this level. So I bring that up on the daily chart, just it's a clear picture we can all see here at 59.72. That's probably my first like line in the sand. Like I want to see bulls hold above that. Can't see the screen. Some people on YouTube are saying they can't see the screen. I can see it on my stream. It shows like it should be sharing. Can anyone confirm if that's just like one or two people that are having an issue seeing it, or can everyone see it? Can only see you, but not the screen. Just shows you. All right, let me stop sharing my screen and reshare my screen. Okay, can you guys see me? Let me reshare my screen again. Are you guys able to see the screen now? I'm sharing the screen again. Good now? Okay, everybody's saying it's working now. Love technology, love it. All right, so you can clearly see this 59.72 level that I was just talking about, how we, it was this pivotal point where we broke above. There was a lot of interesting order flow around this 59.70 to 75 area, I'll call it, specifically 72.25 where I marked it. We've closed pretty firmly above that on Friday, and have so far held. So that's kind of like my line where I want to see bulls hold above that. And if we drop strongly below that and sellers reject strongly below that again, it may be not that I want to short it. It may be just like, let me sit out and see what develops. But as far as this consolidation goes at the highs, typically when I see sellers failing to reject at a resistance level and price just continues to consolidate and build volume right there, it tends to be a good sign that a breakout is coming and buyers want to see higher prices and are willing to continue buying at higher prices. So that's what we need to watch out for. All right, dropping down to the 6-hour chart now. Pretty much the same picture, but you guys can see how I kind of incrementally go down through lower and lower time frames just to see like what differences I'm seeing at different price points. And you can see again here, we saw this pivotal level on the daily chart at 59.72. We rallied and broke above that. Sellers again tried to resist this key level, where I can go back to where I got this level from, but 60 24 75 is a level that I had marked, where sellers had aggressively moved the market lower earlier this year. And you can see it's been resisted again. This is also that trend line from the top of that channel that I mentioned on the weekly and daily timeframes. So clearly sellers are resisting this, but they couldn't even drop it back past like the midpoint of the day. And then overnight, obviously, we see this wick down here. It traded a little bit lower, back below, 6,000, and immediately closed higher, back at the top of the range. You see a little bit of a pullback here, since the market, opened Sunday night. Oops, sorry. And again, we've just look at this. I mean, you could draw a trend line here, but higher low, higher low, higher low. And we're still getting this upper wick up here. So there's still resistance that we have to watch out for. I don't want to be initiating a long position up here at the top, but it does, unless something changes, unless some news comes out or something different technical comes out, we see a lot of significant orders that change the picture, which totally could happen. But right now, to me, just the way we're spending so much time consolidating up here, making higher lows, is just a bullish indication. So I'm going to be watching for dips where price sustains above this pivotal level. That could be down here, it could be up here. It really just depends on what I see on the lower time frames and the order flow, what develops throughout the day. Pause momentarily there for any questions, comments. Can you guys still see and hear me? Got my iced latte rolling for today. All right. You guys still see and hear me? Yeah. All right, cool. All right, dropping down to the 4 hour. I like to look at the 4 and 6 hour. I see some different things, and I occasionally look at different volume and moving average patterns on the two, but it's often a very similar picture between the 4 hour and 6 hour charts. All right, so we dipped and held this low, like almost to the tick overnight at 59.92. Again, made a higher low, and then obviously this is a 4 hour chart, so we spent some time with this hammer candle. We kind of spent some time here consolidating and then rallied. So that's another bullish sign, is when I see the market spend some time consolidating, accumulating positions, and then we rally up from there. That's just a good, rally base, rally structure. I mean, that tends to be a bullish formation and tend to continue to see, bullish price action. So again, continue to make higher lows. And this is probably actually an area to watch this morning. And it's also literally like right at 6,000, which is just a key whole number, 59,999.75 up to the top of this wick, like right at 6,000. Yeah. So that would be the first key area that I definitely want to see hold. So if we pull back between 60.10 to 6,000, I definitely want to see buyers defend that for another move higher if we're going to continue this higher low structure. The other thing, so we could either drop into here, immediately see buyer support, and then rally back up, or we could see if sellers are a little bit stronger and push it back down under here, we could see kind of a fake out under one of these lows on the 4 hour here, 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 here. If I see a fake out and I see really large absorption step in and then strong buying under one of those levels, I'll also be looking to take that long. Again, as long as we hold above this kind of key swing low and this key 59.72 level, as long as we hold above that, I'll be looking for fake outs on these dips where I see really large absorption, really strong buying start to step in to take that long for a bottom reversal. There's not really much, to be honest, today that would have me looking for either a short or a top reversal setup. Um, I really don't want to short these highs just because of all of that higher time frame structure. If we come up here and reject again off it, it's probably just going to be a setup that I miss. If sellers break under 6,000 really strongly and I start seeing a lot of failures on rallies back into that, then maybe I could take that setup short, just targeting a retest of this 59.72 key area. But I don't like that setup as much, to be honest. Just with all the higher time frame analysis and structure that I've looked at and shown you guys here, I just don't like that setup as much. But it's something we can watch for, and watch out for. That could happen. All right, dropping down again, 1 hour here. So you can see this is where we kind of based. See it more clearly on the 1 hour. And again, we held a higher low above these wicks on the 1 hour from Friday's lows. Actually, literally almost to the tick right above the wicks where these candles, where this 1 hour candle opened and rallied. So just from a price action, like market structure, we're clearly making higher lows, holding higher lows, and consolidating right at the top of a higher time frame channel. Pretty much all of that from a technical analysis perspective, at least the way I do technical analysis, looks bullish and looks ready to continue to move higher. Seems like buyers are willing to buy the dip. We just need to continue to see buyer strength above the highs. That's the only thing really lacking. Do I trade NQ? No, I have occasionally, but 99% of the time, I'm just trading ES only. All right, so dropping down to the 15-minute time frame here. Just looking at Friday into today, again, we kind of see that same thing where we had this pull back into that demand that held here. We kind of literally based from like 10 p.m. all the way until 2 a.m. And after 2 a.m., that's typically when I see a lot of volume from the London session picking up. We rallied up again, and now we're just consolidating here at the highs. So I'm actually going to mark these lows here. I'm going to mark this low right here. Just call it a session low. Going to watch that, and you almost have a double bottom here. So I may mark this, and it's also the same area as here. So that's a good area to watch. So I'm going to be watching this. This is clearly a pivotal level here on the 15-minute. We can see we ejected, broke above, bounced. So I'm going to watch that. Pretty much this area I'm going to watch for a dip first this morning. And we could dip into here and see some good stuff on the order flow to take it long right away. Or we could see a dip and a fake out under this. That would be another thing. But if I see sellers are really strong and we just shatter right under here and pops fail below here, then I'm going to sit back and wait. Either wait for a test of this level. And you can see right off news, we shot above this level. So that's also the origination of the news rally. That's another reason why that's an important level. All right, so I think that's pretty much all the analysis and the game plan. You guys got any questions, things that you want me to cover? We got just a couple minutes before the market opens and we'll start to lock in. And like as usual, if you guys have been on my live streams before that I typically do on once a week, like on Mondays or Tuesdays sometimes if Monday's a holiday, I will switch over to sharing my Bookmap so we can watch the order flow together. How do I set my targets? I generally look for either a key area of resistance to target, so like this 60.24 level, if we were long down here, or prior highs. Just there's a lot of liquidity there, and that's an area where the market can reverse and go against me. So either a prior resistance or supply level slash zone, or a prior high, prior low. I would say that's probably 90% of my targets. And then the other 10%, maybe not, maybe it's not 90-10. I don't know what the split is, but the other thing that could be targets is just interesting activity that I see on the order flow. So if we like rallied up here and I saw a lot of like large interesting orders up here, and then we pulled back and I took it long, I would probably use those large interesting orders as an area that price would maybe want to retest. And that would be something that I used as a target. I'm generally a very quick scalper. I like to have very, very, very minimal risk, high reward setups that I'm able to capitalize on quick, short moves with very limited exposure, both in terms of risk and time. Anything I see on Bookmap, just a lot of consolidation right now. There's a lot of selling up here, and price has not moved lower. So it's just kind of going sideways here. I'll go ahead and flip this over to Bookmap really quick. I can go back to the charts if anybody wants to see anything else from the charts. Where is Bookmap? All right, so here's Bookmap. I opened this up a little this morning. That's where it starts from. And you can see we kind of rallied up here back above 6,000. Actually, that's interesting. Look at that low right around 6,007 on that dip. And that's right where we had that key level. So we kind of rallied up here, and look at all of the selling you see up here versus green bubbles. But despite that selling, price has really not moved much lower. We've just kind of consolidated here. So this is actually interesting. If after the open continued to hold this, that could be a nice little upside momentum help, and just target a break above the 20s, 30s into that that key trend line from that upper channel, which currently this morning sits right around 60-30. So if we see a lot of absorption and buyer strength here, that might be a little momentum setup to get long off this failed selling, speculating that would break out 60-24 into 60-30s. We might. And then, if buyers are strong up there, we could just break that out straight away and go for those 60-30s, 60-40s. So that is something to watch. A lot of times, especially when that happens on a Monday, I just miss it because I'm more trying to be patient and wait for a pullback and stuff. How do I set my stop losses? I look for things on the order flow, like interesting orders, absorption, and things like that. That's where I take my entry from. And so based on where I take my entry from, based on a orders flow, I set it at a point below that would invalidate my thesis for getting in the entry. Typically, 99% of the time for me, that's between like 2 and 4 points. Sometimes maybe like 5, 6, 7 points if volatility is very high, price is moving very fast. And if I get a really, really good entry, that can be like 1 or 2 points on ES. And I typically try to adjust my contract size to keep my risk at or below about like $500 or $600 right now. All right, so market just opened, continuing to see a lot of selling here off this. We'll see if it's successful or not. I think I did not go over the news much. It's kind of a little bit of a lighter news. We have consumer inflation expectations. Later this week, we have CPI and PPI news, which is the inflation news. Um, so not a ton to watch, but I think there is a meeting happening between China and the US in London to talk about the tariffs. And that has been one of the key driving factors of volatility and market direction lately is news around tariffs. All right, so we're seeing a bit of buying here on this dip. So let's watch out for what's happening here. But yeah, important to keep in mind, uh, we could see some sharp unexplainable price reactions if there's any headlines and stuff that comes out around the tariff news with China and the US on those London meetings. Good morning, Seabass. All right. So I'm going to try to move this Bookmap around to keep it in clear view out of my little headshot here in the bottom of the screen. All right, so nice little drop here. We're kind of testing that double bottom area that I mentioned from the pre-market. I'm not just jumping in long at the first second. I need to see some key activity on the order flow. See this bid holding here? Let's watch if we break under that or if this bid continues to hold. See how this darker spot on the heat map popped up and that selling got absorbed right there? See if sellers reload and crush below this, or if this buyer is continuing to work in order here. You can clearly see like each time sellers try to push this down right here, it's getting filled by a buyer. So we just pushed under that. Still watching it. We're right in that key zone that I mentioned above 6,000. This is look at this straight drop down and you see this larger bubble here. This is a relatively large amount of selling right at the low here. So let's see if this bounces, and that would lead me to conclude that we're having some absorption here. If we continue to just punch through this though, and I don't see it bounce with aggressive buying, then we're just going to let it fall. All right, this is that 6,000 level, and it's also where we had that kind of basing area overnight that then rallied. It's a pretty larger order here right at 6,000. See if this holds here. See if sellers try to push this back down one more little time here and see if it holds. Like this drop into 6,000, selling kind of got absorbed here. Buyers are starting to buy. Let's see if we get a little pullback. Just closely watching the order flow here. Might take a stab watching close here. Yeah. I like this buying on this dip here if it can hold. Took it, I got in a small position long here, 602.75. Just a tight like 2-point stop loss under here. Really, I want to see some aggressive buying come in now. I may even close this break even if we start to drop with aggressive selling quick. I want to see after this little dip held right here where we saw this absorption above 6,000, I want to see this bounce with some aggressive buying like right now. Else I'll just probably just close this break even. I'm up like 2 or 3 points. So I want to see some strong buying hit. That's what I'm speculating is we're going to see some strong buying hit after that failed right there above 6,000. There it is. All right, so stop losses break even now. The reason my stop losses break even is because we saw this absorption right above 6,000. We bounced, we pulled back once at 602. I got it long right here at 602.75. And now we're breaking back above this prior high here with a bit of stronger buying. I don't want to see sellers stuff this and reject back below my entry now. I want it to bounce like right now. And if we get a nice little pop here, I might just quickly take half off and just let it run, see what we can do. It's just slow. Come on. I'm up like 6 points now. So I want to see, no, five or 6 points. I want to see this pop here, and it's just kind of slowly grinding. I'm going to try to be patient with it. Yeah, target on that would be a break above the open 60.15 into 60.24 probably. If we can get back above the 08s here, that's a great sign. We can go take out the open at 60.15 and then maybe overnight highs around 60.20 into 60.24. So the areas that I'm watching target 15, 20, 24. But this thing is just slowly grinding. My risk is break even here. I'm not seeing a ton of aggressive buying just yet. Like we're buying and grinding up, but I'm cautious here. There's a really, really tight entry down here with like 2 points of risk. So we are seeing the aggressive buying that I wanted to see after, but it's not moving up very quickly. I'm a big fan of if it's looking 50-50 and you're not seeing A plus like confirmations after entry, at least just go break even with the risk. I can always get back in. But sometimes that comes with the cost of get wicked out for like break even to the tick and then it rips and you just don't get a re-entry. That's frustrating. Yeah, see this selling coming in. I'm letting it breathe here, but it may want to dip lower prices further first. We saw the buying that I wanted to see come in. It just didn't sustain anything. So I am trying to be patient with it here, but I need to see price lift in my direction. Like generally around 5-6 points is like the threshold where I like to move my risk to break even, depending on the market structure, depending on the volatility. And we just barely got there, just barely. And the thing is though, we shifted the structure, right? We were dipping, we made a higher low and we broke above this high. And my entry was down here before we broke above this high. So I really want to see buyers be strong for this to be a quick, nice scalp and maintain that structure now. So that's why my risk is break even down here. There's some nice buying. Come on, get this thing a nice little pump. If we see all this buying fail up here now, then I probably don't want to be in this trade. So that's why another reason why my risk is break even. Because we're seeing on the footprint, I'm seeing a lot of like 200 lots, 200 lots, 200 lot buying, aggressive buying. If all that buying fails here, then I probably don't want to be in this trade. So, but I'm staying patient. Need to see us break above these 08s, 09s, which is also where VWAP is right here. Need to see a nice sharp pump above that, and I need to see price hold above that. You can see these offers here, 10, 875. I need to see those get filled and pump above it and hold above it. It's a lot of buying coming in here now. The buying needs to be rewarded with higher price movement. Otherwise, this could be a seller passively selling. So need to see this continue to move price higher. just struggling, man. Not great. It's not a great sign either if this fails and rejects now. If like buyers showed this much attempt here, this is the spot we wanted to see above that like basing and rally area from the overnight. Um, Not a good look if this buying gets stuffed here. So whole lot of sideways now. That's the thing for the way I scalp too. I like to see kind of quick movements, and generally when price goes sideways for a long time after my entry, it's not a great either either I wasn't reading it good enough or it's just not the conditions that I was looking for initially when I opened the position. We had this quick sell off the open. I was wanting to see kind of a quick aggressive retracement of that sell off by buyers stepping in and squeezing everybody that sold right off the open and get a nice little rally. But I got a good entry, which is allowing me to stay patient here. That's the thing also, is like having a really good entry kind of gives you the luxury of being a little bit more patient. But that being said, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you guys that I don't I don't love how I'm feeling sitting in this, seeing it go sideways. Here's a nice pump again back to these highs. I want to see this get above here. Else maybe I can take half off. Come on. Need to see aggression from buyers here at these highs. Yeah, stops at break even, and that also, like, getting a really good entry and then having a break even stop allows you to be a lot more patient. But this is a good amount of buying here and it needs to be rewarded. Otherwise, this thing could definitely move lower back below that 6,000 level. We got to think, if we have all the buying here and we can't get back above these 09s, 08s, right around VWAP, and then sellers start in, we're going to have all the buyers stopping out. That's just going to add fuel to a price dump under 6,000. So this is probably one of my least favorite things right here, is this just kind of slow grinding channel that's now forming, right? See the top and the bottom of this just kind of channel grinding. It's hard to be patient in that. It's super tough to be patient in that. been up like almost 7 points now, and we're still just kind of grinding, man. So definitely, if I didn't already open this down here at the lows, I'd be probably sitting back now because I got in down here on this low. So NQ looks more strong. It just they flip all the time, and like one is relatively strong, the other's relatively weak, and then it kind of just flips. Like I don't look at NQ a ton. Obviously on a trend, like if we're having an uptrend, we want to see both moving and breaking. But it's interesting because when we were looking this morning, it seemed like ES was kind of relatively stronger and NQ was relatively lower. So one thing to note here, though, that ES is struggling, and there, if you mark it, there's kind of like a trend line, resistance trend line here that on just like a 4-hour chart that NQ is coming up to right now. So if NQ fails at that on this little rally this morning, and ES is struggling here, this could be a sharp drop lower. Got in this at like 9:36 or so. So I've been in this for going on almost 30 minutes. That's not ideal to be just sideways for 20-30 minutes on an entry, especially in the first hour, like when we should be having like the most momentum and volatility. But buyers are still buying. It's still squeaking higher. It's just not doing it in a way that makes you very comfortable if you're sitting in longs. Just squeaking up here, little bubbles. I might scale out half. I hate how it's peeking up here with these little tiny bubbles of buying. I'm just trying to sit on it and be patient, but it's not ideal, not what I wanted to see with this trade. Come on now. Would like to see some more energy come in from buyers, and it's just, look at this, each time we've peaked here, it's gotten weaker. Right at this VWAP level, really, like I said, I really, to really confirm this trade, I want to see buyer strength above this level. And now we've come 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, each time with just kind of like weaker buying now. That's not ideal. I mean, it could blast up here and we could get a nice bit of buying coming in, and that's great. But right now, I'm sitting in it because I got a good entry. So I'm giving it some breathing room, but it's not ideal to see. Yeah, we're holding higher lows, but each test up here has just gotten weaker and weaker. It's not ideal. Just feels like it's just going to dump and stop me out. Yeah. What do I do? Do I take half off here because I don't like it and then just continue to hold my other half break even? I do that sometimes just to pad the day green, or do I just sit on it and hope it goes to a full take profit? Both are both ways that I manage my trades. So both are valid. But given that the higher time conditions were up, I was wanting to hold full size for the bigger move because it wasn't just a quick scalp. The higher time frame direction is up. However, we're kind of seeing red flags here. 1, 2, 3 attempt here with weaker and weaker buying. Yeah, it's going to dump and stop me out now. Yeah, it's a 50-50, Mike. And I hate it. Makes it tough to decide because it's like technically I'm not invalid on the idea, but also I'm not really seeing like what I wanted to see to continue to hold it. So it's like, what do you do? It's definitely a tricky, uncomfortable situation to be in. And thankfully I got a good entry. So it's letting me, you know, it's giving me options. Right now I've done nothing. So I'm just holding it, definitely break even risk, but it just definitely seems like it's going to come stop me out. Just not, buyers just are not having the juice up here that I initially wanted to see. Initially it looked good. Look at all this buying that we had after my entry down here, and then it just froze. That's not ideal. So some volatility coming in here. I mean, if I wasn't already in this trade from these lows, guys, I would be sitting out for sure. That little pump, that's clearly a passive buyer there because we had that aggressive little dump, got filled and immediately shot back up. So that's a good sign. It's very 50-50 here. It's very 50-50 and hard to read. And if I wasn't already in a great entry from this low down here, I would definitely be sitting out. In fact, I might scale out half on this quick pop, but I'm trying to be patient. This is a pretty aggressive little pop here. I definitely wouldn't want to see it fail. It's like, well, what time is that news? China, US, London meeting time. Does anybody know? Put it in the chat. What time is that meeting supposed to happen? Like the market could just be screwing around, probably just waiting until after that meeting occurs. One p.m. there local. What time is that for us? Is it? Oh, it's right now. That's why we're just doing this thing. I should have said may go into the evening. So yeah, it may be a day to just walk away after this, to be honest with you guys. If I see in the first hour, 30 minutes, it's this flat and choppy. We got a nice drop initially into that key level. I got a great entry on it. But now it's this flat and choppy. Probably going to walk away after this. All right. I'm out for a tick. Cover my fees. I'm just not feeling that price action. It's going to be super annoying if it breaks out now, but I don't have good reason to continue to sit in this. Like, it's clearly like pending news. We had a great entry down here. You know, I just covered it here because I'm not going to hold it into the red. And we had all of this aggressive buying up here, which was a great confirmation, but it just failed. Like, you can literally see a line like right at 08, 09. So unfortunately, just those, that's how it goes sometimes. Clearly the market is waiting for some news, or probably this tariff news, and it's totally 50-50, and I can't hold that into the red. It's no longer worth me holding my original risk, which was like under this low here at 01. I don't want to hold a 2 or 3 point loss on that after being up 6-7 points. And we're having like completely dead volatility at the time where we should be having the most volume and volatility of the day. So probably a time to call it a day there. I mean, this looked great initially. Like, look at this entry down here at 02. And then we saw all of this aggressive buying. That looked awesome. And this is going to be so annoying if I stopped out down here now and now it goes. That would just be super, super, super annoying. But I can't hold this red, especially after we got all of this aggressive buying and then it failed. I got a good entry that allowed me to be patient for like 30 minutes, and it was still just sideways right at my level. After this was good, this buying was great confirmation to hold the trade, and then it just was totally unsuccessful above this level and went sideways. So not really any reason to hold that red. So yeah, I think it's a good time to walk away. We got CPI and PPI news coming out this week. It sucks because like you get up early, you do analysis, you like do all this work, like you want to make money and take trades. And we had the opportunity. I had the opportunity, took it, was up 6-7 points. Not really at my target though. I wanted to see a break above 60.15 and forced me out. It's going to be super frustrating and annoying to see if this goes in rallies now, but you know, is what it is. That's just how it works sometimes. The long game is the game. Yeah, that's right. Like, I mean, yeah, it's just super frustrating because I had the level, I had the analysis, seeing buying off of it. I want to take the trades. I want to make money, but it's just not, it's not in the cards right now. So there's nothing left to do. It may develop later. We may need a deeper pullback. We may need some news to come out. And I'll kind of like maybe keep my charts up and passively check throughout the day and see what develops. I always keep my Bookmap running and record the data throughout the day. But, you know, we're right at that key time, like 9:30, 10 a.m. when we should be seeing like the best volatility and setups. And it's just dead, totally flat sideways. So I use a hard stop. Dylan asked if I used a hard stop or a mental stop. Yeah, I had a hard stop. I dragged it up there and I actually put it like a couple ticks above my entry to just get out on that dump. But unfortunately, I literally, guys, my stop order got filled to the tick at 03. Because literally to the tick. And it bounced right here. So very, very annoying. You know, maybe the move would have been to just hold my original risk down here. But that just wasn't the setup, you know, that I was looking for. And to hold this for 30 minutes after then, when we should be having the best volatility, it's very, very like 50-50. It's no longer like the trade setup that I wanted. And I'm not gonna, it would kind of just be gambling and hopeful for me to hold my original risk, because what I was speculating to see happen initially did happen and then failed. So it's like, it bounced to the tick after I got out. So yeah, I'm saying, oh man, I wish I just still held it. But if this came and swept out my stop loss, and then I now took a 2 or 3 point stop loss on my full position after sitting in this thing sideways for 30 plus minutes, just would have been even super, super frustrating and annoying. So, all right, guys. Yeah, it's super. It not only the physical cal, but it's when you're a scalping trader like I am, and you just get into total sideways action at what should be like the best trading time of the day. Yeah, it's mental training, and you can start to make bad decisions. Like this was a great A+ setup for me. It was at the level, everything. I got good confirmation of buying after my entry, and then it failed. So it's just one of those things. You know, being up here at this key area that I wanted to see break out with all of this buying up 6 or 7 points, just not. Generally, when I'm up more than 5 points and market structure has moved in my direction, I'm just going to move my risk to break even and not continue to hold it, especially after going sideways for 30 minutes. But it sucks because we're rallying now. We're back at the top of that now, which sucks. So it doesn't suck. It's very annoying that I got stopped out like to the tick, and then it's back up here at the highs. Very, very annoying. But I'm just going to sit out of this now because I don't know when exactly this news is coming out, and I don't understand why, you know, buying got weak and went so sideways after my entry, and now we're breaking out back above it. So yep, frustrating way to start the week, but it's better than a loss, and it's better than not following the plan and taking a dumb loss. So, all right, guys, any questions before I end the stream for today? Be back tomorrow. I'm just not going to leave the live stream going all day, and I may or may not like check back on this periodically throughout the day. So, but you guys saw the analysis, you saw the level, you saw the trade. Initially, it did work out. You know, it could have been a scalp setup for 6-7 points. I was only risking 2 points, so technically, I was up like over 3R on the trade, and got stopped out for break even. Why not looking for another setup? I just don't like the location and volatility right now. Nice. Andrew caught a few points off that trade. Yeah, I don't like the location and volatility now. And there's not much other news coming out today other than this tariff stuff with China and US. It seems like just from a volume and volatility perspective, participants are sitting out right now. because this is very flat. And it's also extremely frustrating that it got me out to the tick down here and now it's back above the highs. Um, yeah, it was an A+ setup. It was, and I just managed my risk how I always do, which is, market structure shifted in my direction, was up 6 or 7 points on a 2-point risk trade. I have to go break even there. I can't hold that into the red. At the time on this drop right here where I got stopped out, we saw all of this aggressive buying just failed up here and then dropped back. So there's just at this moment right here at 10:03, there's just no reason for me to hold that trade into the red while it's dropping. Unfortunately, it got me to the tick and bounced back up here to the highs. But uh, that just happens sometimes. That happens especially a lot when it just goes sideways and choppy. And if it's sideways and choppy at 9:30, 10 a.m. on a Monday, that's my cue to just come back another day. It's no reason to take losses in that kind of conditions. It's not worth putting on risk anymore for me. All right. Going to wrap up the stream here today, guys. Hopefully you got something out of this for the analysis purposes and seeing, where I got my entry and stop loss and etc. Unfortunately, didn't work today, break even day, but it's all good. Come back again tomorrow. Manage risk, just follow the plan, follow the system. Unfortunately, the system of managing risk and break even, took me out today, but it's more often than not, it protects me from unnecessary losses and allows me to hold bigger winners. So see you guys tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. I kept it on Instagram today. I'll keep it on Instagram and YouTube again tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate everyone joining the streams, and see you every day this week at 9 a.m. Eastern. Peace. One more thing for YouTube, I will save, if you want to go back and review anything that we saw today, any analysis, I will upload the live stream on here. All right, thanks guys, have a good one. Actually, one last thing, if I do take any other trades after this, if something new does develop that's worth taking a trade on, then I will share a recap for you guys after today. All right, with that, peace.